Okay, so I'm going to talk about Batman Evolution. Now, Batman Evolution, I actually got the first two volumes of. I don't think. Yeah, I believe this is the start of Greg Rucka's Batman run. Could be wrong, but this is part of the whole new Gotham story. And I got the first two volumes, with this being the first one, Evolution, and the other one, Officer Down, which I haven't read yet, as of this recording, that is. Now, Batman Evolution pretty much takes place after the events of No Man's Land. No Man's Land has happened, it's the city's been repaired, everything's back to normal, but there are some major problems with the city. That being, in the first story arc, here's the thing, the city still has a lot of scars to it. There are some things that happen in there, obviously, I don't think I'm spoiling anything here. During No Man's Land, the Joker murdered Gordon's wife, Sarah. And what had happened was, that's still there, and also what's going on is that Gotham is now kind of divided among the civilians. You have people known as OGs, who are people who stayed during No Man's Land, and then you have people called DZs, who are people who left No Man's Land before the shit got really bad. So the city is now kind of divided, and it's getting to a point where everything is just going to hell. It doesn't help either that during all this, Ra's al Ghul has pretty much sent in 2 agents to go in and send in a new kind of drug to kind of tear the city apart, which we don't find out later on. Because here's the thing about this trade, at least this trade. The first 3-4 parts are about these 2 agents of Ra's al Ghul. And here's the thing, Ra's al Ghul's barely seen, even though he's the one pulling the strings on all this. You don't see him till later. He's just in the back. Ra's is in the background, and I think that works for the best in this story because Ra's doesn't need to be there to have his influence shown. He doesn't need to be in the story to have this shown. And keep in mind, this is after the events of not only No Man's Land, but also Tower of Babylon. So Batman is no longer part of the Justice League, and Ra's al Ghul has suffered some devastating losses at the hand of the Justice League itself. So you kind of see that, and the main focus of this story is obsession and addiction. Actually, addiction is the better word. So the 2 agents that Ra's has sent to Gotham are Whisper Adair, yeah, that's her name, and Mr. Abbott, who are 2 dedicated servants to Ra's al Ghul, and what they have on them is a version of the Lazarus Pit, the elixir. And however, it's a more dangerous form, and it actually mutates people's cells into animals. Like Whisper is part King Cobra, and Mr. Abbott is part wolf now. And they're trying to sell this drug in a very interesting way because now the mob is back in Gotham, and the mob is pretty much at a truce because they've carved up Gotham in 5 different districts. The other thing that this has a lot of focus on is that this is kind of where, if I remember right, this is where Greg Rucka was kind of seeding in plans for his Gotham City Central ongoing. Because at the time, I don't think Gotham City Central came out when he was doing his Batman run. He was more or less seeding everything for this series. Because we have Renee Montoya in here. We have a lot of the focus goes to. I mean, there is a lot of focus to Batman, but there are some stories in here, and I'll get to them in a bit, that really focus on people other than Batman. Batman, even though it's his book, is this kind of put in the supporting character in this trade. In some points, he is in because here's the thing: the first 4 parts are about Batman battling this elixir and trying to defeat Whisper Adair and Mr. Abbott. And then we have a lull because it kind of breaks off into 3 issues that don't really focus on the whole Ra's al Ghul and elixir thing, and that doesn't happen to the end of the trade, which I find weird because it's just kind of like, oh yeah, they got away, but we'll get them next. But I'm on it, and then it kind of focuses on a story about Renee Montoya on her birthday, and then a 2-part story revolving around Jim Gordon. Trying to stop these bombings and stop like a civil war happening in Gotham. These kind of feel like the Renee Montoya story is really good because it's her on her birthday and she feels like shit because now she has to not only because of the events of what happened in No Man's Land, she has to testify against her own partner who murdered someone, and then you have her at the time. The only person who's nice to her is Two-Face. I don't want to say why, but the only person who's nice to her is Two-Face. And if you've read No Man's Land, you probably know why that kind of happened. This is kind of before Renee Montoya came out of the closet, was revealed to be gay. So it was nice. It was interesting to see that because I know later on Rucka revealed that she was really gay. So and I don't really know what happened, like because I don't know if it's really a friendship or if Harvey is really romantically involved with Renee. Because I don't, it's been a long time since I've read No Man's Land on a whole, because that you guys know how big No Man's Land is, so I don't know about that one. Maybe someone could explain that to me in the series. I mean, in the comments. Excuse me. It's really late as I'm doing this video, so excuse me. But yeah, that's a really good story. Again, Batman's on the back burner for this one. The other one, Urban Revival, which focuses on Gordon, is great. This feels like a true crimes, like CSI kind of story. This is really good. This feels This feels like a superpowered version of Law and Order, which is funny because I know there's a fan film series, like a fan series called Law and Order Gotham here on YouTube that I've seen a few times. So that's what it felt like. It felt like an episode of Law and Order, but with Batman in it, and it was really cool to see Gordon try to, because now he doesn't have a wife anymore, and his daughter is Oracle, and she's busy most of the time. She has her own life, and we see Gordon is kind of still dealing with that. And there's actually a really good scene earlier in the comic where Batman is talking with Gordon, and Gordon says, Batman actually asks him, how are you feeling? And he's like, oh, you're asking about my wife, aren't you? He's like, yes. And he says, it never goes away. And Batman replies with, it never does, and it never will. And I'm like, oh, that's a perfect line. And you really see in Rucka's run that Batman and Gordon have a little more they have a little more friendly conversation, because you've seen, after the events of No Man's Land, it's kind of brought them even closer together as allies. And now they're kind of actually talking to each other like friends, and it's kind of cool to see that. To me, I think it's really cool to see that. Again, Gordon is the main focus of that two-part story, and then we get back to the Ra's al Ghul stuff, which is really cool because Ra's is you kind of see Ra's on the defensive because he's running out of resources here. He has gotten, after the League fucked him up in Tower of Babylon, he's kind of on the defensive now, and that whole thing with the elixir was kind of his way of saying, oh well, I think that's actually, it kind of feels like the story in Batman Begins where he's having the city tear itself apart because he knows the effects of the elixir, of the Lazarus Pit elixir, mutating people into animals. I don't really know why it's there. It's not really explained how it kind of morphs people's DNA into more animal-like. It's just called a side effect. I don't know. All in all, this is really good. Greg Rucka has a great voice for Batman. The one thing that I don't know if it's interesting, but it was interesting for me, but it's going to aggravate some people, is the artwork. The artwork is kind of treated, I can't really describe it, it's almost reminiscent of the Batman animated series in a comic form, but with different lighting. Like, there's different ink colors, and it's all colored differently for each story. Like, there's one story where all the inks are in red, there's another one where it's all blue and gold, another all in green and black. It's really weird, but at the same time, it really fits the crime pulp story. And I know this didn't go on long, because I skimmed through the second volume, and you see more regular art style. This feels more like, I think it was trying to go for something close to like a version of like a pulp story, and that's kind of what Rucka was doing. I understand that's what Rucka was trying to do with a lot of his stuff before he got to do Gotham City Central. Can't believe I blanked on that. All in all, if you're a Batman fan, you're looking for some cool stuff that takes place after No Man's Land, I really recommend this. This is really good. Absolutely loved it. I take it back. I liked it. I wouldn't say that this is one of my favorite Batman stories of all time, but I think it's really good. I think it's a really good Batman story. And yeah, if you're a Ra's al Ghul fan, you might like this. If you're looking for a lot of Gordon stuff, there is a ton of Gordon stuff in here. So if you're like a Gordon fan, Coolio Vids 101, you'll probably like this. So yeah. Anyway, once again, I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I'm out.